Welcome to the 2025 Dialogue, a masterclass series by the HR Association of India. I am Neha Jagnani, and today's session is all about unlocking leadership potential through a powerful shift in perspective. Our topic today is mindset shift for leaders, from managing tasks to inspiring teams. To guide us through this conversation, we have with us Dr. Brillian Sk. Brillian is the
Hi.
EVP and Chief People Officer at TimesPro, where he champions a performance driven culture with a strong focus on learner centric approaches. With deep expertise in talent development, recognition programs, and executive leadership coaching, he has been instrumental in building high performing teams and driving operational excellence. His strategic support, TimesPro's expanding business landscape, empowering the workforce through impactful initiatives. Join me in welcoming Dr. Brillian Sk. Thank you, Brillian, for joining.
Hi, thank you, Neha. Thank you, HRAI, for having me over.
It's a
Happy to be
pleasure.
here.
Thank you, Brillian. So to kick things off, Brillian, my first question on today's topic is: what are the most common mindset barriers? You think that hold leaders back from moving beyond task management?
Thank you for that question, Neha. And I think not just my experience, there are many others who may corroborate to it, is that many of these barriers are almost deep rooted in fear and a misplaced sense of identity. From my experience of working with senior leadership team members, what I can tell you, and probably I'll classify it into broadly four aspects. One is मैं हूँ Don mindset, right? It is seen as, especially when it comes to exceptional individual contributors who are suddenly pushed up the ladder and they get promoted because they are the stars. The sad part about this is they retain the fact that they feel they are the smartest and the most, I would say, outcome focused person in the room, which brings in the element of the fear. They don't want to let go. They want to do everything on their own. And the mindset becomes, if I'm not directly doing it, then what is my job? And that leads to unrest, chaos, and in many instances, I've seen it toxicity building up because that person becomes so obsessed with doing it by himself or herself or themselves that they don't want to let go. Then there is this mindset of being a mother hen, right? This is very deep seated and often unconscious, that the more controls I bring in, the better outcomes I will get. And that is the only way for quality and ensuring adherence to timelines. You know, in Hindi, it is said that हमारे यहाँ पे ऐसा ही होता है. This is the only way things can happen. And this, therefore, leads to a lot of dependency, slow decision making, bottlenecks, and from a perspective, the other side, the person feels that this is my safety zone and I can work very clearly.
Sure.
The third aspect is many leaders, while they move up the ladders, they become risk averse. I think they don't want to be seen as a failure, and that's one of the biggest, biggest reasons why they feel, I should always see success. My rating should always be here. It cannot come down. Coincidentally, I wrote a small article on giving up is not necessarily meaning failure. It's about how when you understand when it's important to give up. So they just want to make sure that everything is safe for them. The team is not given an opportunity to explore and want 100% outcomes, which is the biggest block. And the last, which I have experienced, can uh, open up a Pandora's box in terms of a positive way, is empowerment. Many leaders don't know how to empower. They feel it's always about commanding. It's always about making sure that yaar aise karo, ye karo, this is what it is. They feel that is the way they can inspire people, and they get into a mode of saying that task management is the only way. Until and unless you move from that and think about the big picture, I think these are some of the roadblocks that can actually prevent you and your team, of course, from growing to the next level. That's my experience.
Sure, sure. So just to summarize, there is I can do it all, one type. Second is the safety zone. Third one is don't want to see, himself or herself as a failure. And last but not the least, people who don't know how to empower others. So these could be
Yes,
some lenses that could trigger their decision making whenever they are at the
absolutely, absolutely.
so thank you so much. My next question, Brilliant, is how can leaders shift focus from doing things right to inspiring others to do the right things?
Brings me to a WhatsApp meme which was circulated in leaders group long ago, saying that if you want to keep everyone happy, become an ice cream seller. So having been a part of both the corporate as well as not-for-profit organizations, I have realized that it's important for leaders to understand that what is right may not always be popular, and what is popular may not always be right. So you need to make sure that you understand, because this is the essence of leadership. If you really want to inspire people to do the right set of things, and it requires, I would say, a conscious level of rewiring from where you are to think about it. So it starts with defining what success would look like. It's not about your value, right? I said this earlier, is a leader should not look at it as a failure for himself or herself or themselves. They need to think of it from a different perspective to say, how can I make sure that I set my team to achieve success? I don't need to control. I need to make sure that I provide them with nudges, support, coaching, counseling, etc. But I want to make sure that they set out their goals effectively. I can define the parameters for success. And in my experience, I would say a true leader is truly successful if they can create more leaders from the team. Otherwise, you become non-promotable because there is no one else to come in your fit in your shoes, and then it becomes stagnant. There is no growth, no opportunities for anyone. The next element is what we all know is setting context. You tell me what to do, but just like Simon Sinek said, why is this important? Why is this goal the most important one that I chase? The end objective, the stakeholder impact, and what is in it for me, which people normally tend to forget. If you're able to set that context, I think there will be a lot that can change. I had a good old boss, old as in not in age, but long ago, who mentioned to me something very interesting, that at least 30% of your time you should spend in setting the context and making sure that people understand it effectively. And he said this beautifully: when people understand the why, they can actually figure out the how. And then magic can happen. And many a times we will be surprised by what outcomes, including stretch goals, that they will be able to achieve. And as a leader, many a times a manager tends to grow up to be a leader. And that is where I would say the next part is about flip your tell. Many a times we get into a mode of telling leadership, right? Do this, do that. I would say don't tell, ask people, involve them. Instead of directive statements, ask powerful questions. Instead of saying, this is how you should do it, you ask them, this is a problem. How do you think we can collectively solve this? What is an approach that you can bring to? And then probably add some more to get a sense of their involvement. Make sure that you add that element of what support do you need from me, because the moment you bring that in, your tell automatically converts into an ask, and the person is so obliged to say, अरे ये तो मेरे को support करने वाला है, तो let me do things and go all out. And I think this is the most powerful of all to drive growth and outcomes, especially from the alignment perspective.
Sure, beautifully.
We've been there, and just one more part I would like to add in this is, uh, I've been there. People often get confused by visibility. I think we should go away from that and focus on outcomes rather than thinking about कि यार ये 7 बजे आया, 6 बजे गया, 3 बजे निकल गया. Don't get carried away by that. Be 100% clear that outcomes are the only things that will matter. The deadlines, the resources, etc., are what we will provide you. You don't worry about how it is getting done, and let the team do it their way. I think if that is something which we can achieve, the autonomy that the team will feel that they have will help us in achieving a greater breakthroughs.
Sure, Brilliant. Beautifully put. So, just to summarize, starting with defining the success parameters and providing that adequate support to the team, setting the context, starting with the why. Then you said, don't tell, ask people. It's an inclusive leadership that you're talking about. Last but not the least, it should come from visibility to outcome. So
Yes.
thank you so much. My next question, Brilliant, is in your experience, what role does trust play in making the mindset shift sustainable?
Trust does not play any part. I know it will come as a shocker, but I would say it is the only thing that can help shift mindset. Because without trust, everything is just a checklist activity. ये करना है, ये करना है, ये करना है. So I would say, how do you build trust is the most critical aspect of it. Share your failures. I think a true leader is one who can earn the trust by showcasing that, yes, I have failed. I am vulnerable. I am just like you. And I am not ashamed to accept the fact that I too have failed in the past. And this vulnerability gives the scope for the team to say, oh, this person is also similar to me. And maybe, when I fail, I don't have to fear an outlash from him or her or them. The role is very simple. Either you trust people or you don't. If you go back controlling, saying, अरे ये होने के बाद ना मुझे बता देना, ये होने के बाद मुझे बता देना, tell me once you feel, then that trust is gone. You lack trust either on the person's capability or the fact that they don't have commitment. In either cases, you lost the plot. If you trust it, make sure you tell them and let them know that the trust is 100%. Having been a part of not-for-profits, I bring this in here multiple times for a simple reason is trust cannot be given blindly. I learned from a wise person that trust but validate. You need to consistently check if people are living up to the trust that you give because it's a two-way street. I trust you, but if I don't get back expected outcomes from you, then there is a possibility that I am being shortchanged for whatever, right? Take calculated risk. Make sure I do a check-in to say, sahi ja raha hai na? Is there anything that I can do? Offer constructive support, but make sure that when you see something dipping down, you pull it back, bring in the controls. So never trust blindly. Make sure you trust, but 100% validate it at a frequency that you define.
Sure, sure. Beautifully said. I think you, to begin with, you said trust does not play a role. It is actually the center of the mindset shift.
Everything.
So thank you for that. Just to summarize the points, sharing failures as a leader, telling them that you trust the team, telling your team, trusting but validating. And then last but not the least, taking those calculated risks and making sure that it's a two-way street. So the
Yes.
trust should not be given blindly. So thank you so much for that, Brilliant. My next question is if you can share an example, Brilliant, where a leader's mindset shift transformed their team's performance.
So this is a mix of a mother hen and I can do it all mindset. So there was a leader who always wanted to be the one signing off on every small thing that the team did. Even if it's a mail response to saying Neha asking me, for example, Brilliant, are you available on XYZ date for a session? I have to cross check saying this is the mail that I'm writing. And the person would actually sit and draft those mails. It became so, I would say, claustrophobic that despite having a strong layer of leaders below him, this person started creating a lot of friction because everything was landing up into him to sign off. And there was a lot of reluctance from the, next level leaders to say or act on anything, saying कि यार finally तो यही करने वाला है, तो why should I even bother? So that was the time when the CEO and I spent some time with this leader. We tried approaches, including counseling and coaching, but tada, no change. And then we started thinking, what can we do differently? Is there something that blocks this person from accepting that this is the way of life if you really want to grow as a leader and scale heights? So then I worked with my CEO and assigned a coach, an external coach, to work with this leader. And trust me, that worked like magic. It helped in shifting the mindset. It took some time. The coaching intervention with the approach of being a solution provider and a mother hen changed. And the flip your tell model, which I spoke about, saying that instead of telling people, he started getting into a mode of asking the team. There was huge reluctance and shying away from the fact that यार मैं ऐसा करूंगा तो मेरा power चला जाएगा. People will see I am no longer a leader. It took us about 4 months of time, but trust me, that mindset of moving from telling to asking people to contribute saw the energies of the team shift positively. There was a kind of an euphoria in the team saying that यही person है क्या, ये same बंदा है जो जिसके साथ हम ऐसे बात कर रहे थे. So I think, we also need to remember as leaders that sometimes we may not have the solutions within ourselves. We always assume that सब कुछ मैं करूंगा तो हो जाएगा. And a great example is when we brought in that external help as a coach, the person opened up. Maybe there was a block, but yes, we need to start thinking about what are the opportunities that we can provide beyond what we see, obviously. And that's the requirement, because until and unless we start exploring all of this, nothing will happen. We need to remember as leaders, both whether you are the person's story whom I told you, or me in that role as HR head trying to find a solution for this, that we don't need to do it all alone. There are people who can help you. It's only up to you to just reach out and ask. Help will be available.
Sure. Thank you, Brilliant. I think it says that many a times we build boundaries with the fear of judgment, speaking up. So it's
Absolutely.
very important to create that environment where you are asked the right questions, where somebody is patiently listening to you. That's probably the time when you actually open up and share your barriers or
Yes.
roadblocks. So thank you so much for sharing that beautiful example. So this brings us to the last question, Brilliant, which is what practical steps can leaders take to move from micromanagement to empowerment?
The moment we use micromanagement, people start looking at us suspiciously. But I think that's corporate reality. Whether we like it or not, in some way or the other, it exists. And there needs to be a conscious move towards breaking that mindset towards empowerment. And it is not a checklist empowerment. I would say don't get carried away by what the big people of the industry are doing. Start small, be consistent, and ensure you're reviewing what you've done is working or not. So I would say be realistic. You should use the should, would, could matrix to analyze what deserves your time. And go back to what Simon Sinek said. Why is this important for the business, the team, and you? And when you have that matrix ready, it becomes easier for you to become what I would call as one step closer towards an empowering leader. The second element is stop solving problems. You are not here to solve everyone's problem every single time. Reach out, seek solutions from the team. Hold on to your instinct. Many a times it happens because we've been in the industry for so long. Experience speaks and it is important. But, sometimes what we do is we tend to override some of these by our past experience saying, अरे ये तो ऐसे करना चाहिए फट से. So the others who are out there have a better solution will want to not share because they feel their solution may not be taken up. And that's what we need to hold back on giving out immediate solutions. I mentioned this earlier, but a slight twist is when you bring these changes, ask for feedback from your team. Please, please, please ask for feedback. Feedback is not about saying कि मैं सब सही कर रहा हूँ या नहीं. Flip the tell model also, saying what is the one thing you feel I can do better as a leader to help you in your journey. What is it something that you feel I am doing good? Yeah, sometimes that feel good factor is also important. So ask both the positives and the areas for improvement. Just also check with them, are they willing to share in essence the candid observations and experiences? If it is not coming out, then I think there is a lot that we need to do. The review will help you bring back what you need to do. The most critical element in all of this is active listening. We've all heard this, and it becomes token, right? It's looked upon as a tokenism, but it's very simple. How many times have you walked into a meeting with a phone, and every time someone is talking, you're busy saying, nodding? Just leave the phone aside, flip it down. Let that time be given to that individual. Don't get distracted with anything. If you have given 10 minutes of dedicated time to listen to that person, give importance to that moment and to that person. The team will know that you're no longer a manager running after tasks, you are a leader and you are responsible as much as they are for their success. So I think these are some of the elements which can really help leaders to move from the so-called bracket of micromanagement to empowering people within teams to become successful.
Sure. So many takeaways, brilliant from this answer, but yet so fundamental. And, being realistic, starting small, not getting carried away by what other companies are doing. Stop solving problems is what you said. Holding on to your instincts is equally important and asking for feedback. I also liked what you said about active listening. It's considered as a tokenism, but it is something that should come naturally to you if you're paying
Yes.
respect to somebody, so that becomes a critical part. So thank you so much, Brilliant. This brings us to the end of this masterclass. Thank you for sharing your invaluable insights. And I think it reminded us that leadership is not just about managing, what gets done, but it is inspiring how it can be done. So thank you so much for shedding light on these points.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Neha, and thank you, HRAI, for having me over. I'm sure people are busy in the festivities. So happy Navratra, Dasera, Diwali, Christmas, everything to all of you. Have
Thank
fun.
you so much. Brilliant. Wishing you the
Thanks a
same.
lot.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure having you on the masterclass. Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.